Hello, Garland Nixon here. Make sure my mic's working. And we're going to talk about the potential outcomes of an attack on Iran. Let's talk. Hello, Garland here, and let's talk about the potential outcomes in a couple of different ways. And let's just overall discuss this whole potential. Did I say Iraq? I don't know. That these countries that are named, cut off and named by the British. Who the hell knows? Iran, Iraq, one of these countries. But at any rate, it all remains the same. Let's go. Let's get to talking here. What do we have here? We have the United States, a country who has been beaten up on small countries for quite a while, countries that are easy for the most part to overcome, and using NATO assets. I mean, if you look at Libya, was it just the U.S.? No, it was the U.S. along with NATO assets that attacked the small country. If you look at Iraq, which was a bit of a bigger country, but it had 1950s Soviet technology, didn't have any decent aircraft, anti-aircraft stuff. I mean, it was naked when it came to the issue of air defense. And we look at Afghanistan. They fought a bunch of guys who, had small arms, and they just got outlasted and ended up having to leave. You could argue that they lost the war if you thought it was a war rather than an occupation, and if you thought that the intent was to do something other than hold on to the ground, continue to fight, and continue to pump lots of money into the hands of defense contractors. So $2.5 trillion into the hands of defense contractors, that ain't a loss for them. They're happy. They don't care. The soldiers are cannon fodder. That's what their job is. In the same way that the Ukrainian soldiers are cannon fodder, the American soldiers are cannon fodder, and we're economic cannon fodder. They don't care. They don't give a crap, right? About us, about U.S. soldiers as cannon fodder. And I think a lot of people are figuring that out. The only question becomes cannon fodder for who? Cannon fodder for the British Empire, cannon fodder for Israel, cannon fodder for the corporations, Wall Street. I'll put it like this. It's hard to argue anything other than the U.S. military is physical cannon fodder, is kinetic cannon fodder, and the U.S. public, we're political and economic cannon fodder. We're suffering. We're to be thrown to the dogs. The only argument really would be who are we cannon fodder for? Whether we're cannon fodder is, I think that has been that's been decided. And when I say cannon fodder, I'm sure you know what I mean. Bottom line is an expendable asset. You could use it that way if you want to be a bit more technical about it. We're expendable assets, and at some point when we want to when we expect schools, decent schools and roads, and we expect the government to funnel some of that money in the direction of the people. Excuse me for doing a lot of yawning. I was up late last night. We become liabilities. So we're expendable assets unless we say, hey, what about money for us? Now we're liabilities. That money ain't for us. That money's for Wall Street, the military industrial complex, and all of the ruling elite and the political class. It's for them to divide up. It's not for us to get a part of it. So we are liabilities if we expect a part of it. Okay, so what are we looking at? I'm not going to get into the discussion of the tail wagging the dog. Is Iran, is Israel running the U.S.? Is Israel a cat's paw that the U.S. empire uses? You get the same outcome, right? The U.S., either you could call it for Israel. Oh, yes, Israel wants the greater Israel, so they want Iran out of the way because they can't have a greater Israel, and they can't dominate the region as long as you have a dominant power. You're a lot of yawning. Sorry, I need to take a nap. A dominant power such as Iran in the region, right? They're a dominant military power now, which means that if they're a dominant military power, that Israel is not. And that also means that the United States is not the dominant. We are powerful, but are we the dominant? And I think that's one of the things we're looking at. Are we the dominant military power military and economic power in the region, or do we have to give some of that up to Iran? Because if Iran can close the Straits of Hormuz, if Iran can flatten all of the, can take actions against the oil industry, that will collapse the U.S. economy, right? So if they've got some powerful weapons that can do extreme damage to us, if not collapse our economy, then that means that we're not the dominant power in the region. And that's what we're talking about here, I think. The U.S., one of the interesting things about the U.S. and the American people is that the U.S. government and the neocons and the empire can get away with lying to the American people. The American people are schmucks, saps. I mean, you got to lose all respect for a certain contingent of the American people who would believe anything, no matter how many times they're lied to. You know what I mean? That's not us, people in the chat. That's not us. But we're looking at those people shaking our heads saying, you still believe these bastards, no matter how many times they lie for you? We don't get it. I know the people in the chat are saying the same thing as me. We don't get it. I had a caller last night on my radio show in DC. Do you know that Sharia law is bad? We've got to change the government of Iran. We, fool, you're not part of the club. There is no we. There's no we. We've got to change the, as if if they steal all the oil in Iran, you ain't getting none of it. Number two, do you think when the billionaires are sitting around on Epstein Island doing whatever they do, they look at you? Hey, where's our buddy Bill? No, they don't give a shit about you. They just as soon throw you on the battlefield. They will treat you the same way the Ukrainians are treating people there. Trust me when I tell you that. Look at what's happening with government goons all over the, whether it's, in the ICE, Homeland Security, National Guard, you name it. They want to put troops on the ground and have them wandering around so that when this economy continues to crash and you get upset about it and you say, hey, what happened to my life is destroyed. What happened to all my money? My savings is gone. My pension. What? Wait, there's no. Wait, what? I'm going to protest. Oh no, you ain't, buddy, because we already got troops on the ground to quell such protests. That's it. Okay. So here's my point. With Iran, here's what happens. The U.S. can attack Iran. Yes, they can. Now, whether they can defeat Iran in a war, I don't think so, for a couple of reasons, right? Again, oftentimes I talk about self-defense. Well, if you get in a fight, if you go punch somebody, the U.S. always says, I'm going to strike, we'll strike Iran. Okay, fine. You can strike anybody you want to. You know what? You can go into a bar and go into a bar full of Hell's Angels motorcycle guys and walk up and strike one of them. Yes, I'm going to strike that guy, the biggest guy. He's standing there and he's got a knife, a gun, every weapon known to man, a chain, you name it. And he's drinking a beer and he's a motorcycle guy and he's killed people before. You walk up to him and you strike him. You punch him right in the snoot, right in the kisser, as they say. You can strike him. But as they say, you can control your actions, but you can't control the consequences of your action. Before the night is over, you'll be tied to the back of 5 motorcycles, being dragged down the street. You're done. You're history. You're going to get surrounded, beaten mercilessly, stabbed, shot, and thrown under a tractor trailer. You're done. You can strike someone, but you can't control what that person will do once you strike. Oh, we're going to strike Iran. What do you think Iran's going to do? Just sit around? So here's my point. Iran said, if you strike us, it ain't a strike. It's not a strike. It is the beginning of a war. It is an opening shot in a war. Now, let's start here. The United States does not have the industrial capacity, the military industrial capacity to create the, to continue to build the war material that we would need for a war of attrition with Iran, number one. Number two, it couldn't be a war for this reason. The U.S. doesn't have the ability to fight a war at this point. Maybe on our own homeland, sure. But to send a force out to Iran, see, a war includes air, land, and sea. We can fire from the sea. We can fire from the air. But what do we do from the land? Nothing. All we can do is bomb. Now, what we don't know is exactly how much air defense and electronic warfare We don't know how much Iran has improved in that area. We suspect that we've seen evidence that they've had technological help from Russia when it comes to the Starlink, using the Starlink communication satellites, but we don't know what other technological help that they've had, but we suspect that they've had significant technological help. So when you don't know what they have, do you know, will they be able to jam the signals on the, um, what do you call it? Will they be able to jam the signals on the Tomahawks? Will they be able to shoot them down? What will they be able to do with as far as ships? You know, I mean, my God, man, there's a bad potential for ships. The problem with a ship is this: you got a whole bunch of people bunched together. You got all of these guys jammed together on a ship. So if a missile hits a ship, significant casualties every time. Very, very significant casualties. We don't know what they're shipping, their ability to ship attack ships. We do know they have some submarines. We don't know. I don't know how many submarines, but I understand they have quite a few. They're older submarines, but they are submarines, and they have the ability to attack ships. So will they be able to launch successful attacks against ships from submarines? Has Russia and/or China given them even more further capabilities when it comes to anti-shipping missiles? I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with the Onyx missile. Let me see. Russian Onyx missile. Let's take a look at that for one. P-800 Onyx. Now the latest. Okay. Russian engine ship cruise missiles, 3 variants. The ship launch variant, the ground launch version is the Yakut, and they have an air launch. Okay, and they've got a sub launch version has been proposed. Okay, and it's suspected to be on the Yasin class attack subs. Okay, they can be ground launched. Now it doesn't say that they have them. It says Russia, Indonesia, Syria, Vietnam, but we don't know. We don't know. 8.6 meters, about 3,000 kilograms. About now, they're solid propellant ramjet, single warhead. Now the range on the initial ones were 300 kilometers. We know from Andrei Martyanov that the newest variant is about 1,000 kilometers. And they're very, very, very nasty missiles. Very nasty missiles. Let's talk about it a little bit. After being accelerated by a rocket booster, the missile propels itself with a kerosene-powered ramjet motor. Typical flight, the missile can reach altitudes of 14 kilometers, speeds up to Mach 2.2. When approaching the target, the missile descends to a 10 to 15 meter altitude to avoid detection. They call them sea skimmer missiles, right? So when it comes down, it comes right down. It's below radar. It's hard to see it coming in. So what you have then is the other thing is this: these missiles, such as that, when they get close to the target, they make these really wide turns, these sudden herky-jerky turns, and some of them actually, when they get close, they go up and they go straight down, because oftentimes with air defense systems, the air defense's weakness will be straight up. So some of them will go out, they'll go straight up, straight down, and of course that's right into the middle of the deck of your ship. Others, of course, will try to hit right around water level. They want to punch a hole at the water line, which is going to sink a ship. Let's see. Equipped with either a 200 kilogram high explosive or a 250 kilogram semi-armor piercing warhead. So bottom line, it's a really nasty missile. And to be frank, the U.S. is playing with fire if you got a bunch of ships in the area. And the Iranians have the ability to target them with missiles that you may not be able to stop. And even though the ships do have an anti-missile systems, and they do have other things, the other tactic that we saw by the Iranians that was extremely successful against Israel for a few times is they flood the zone. In other words, they want to hit a ship, right? Rather, if they want to take a ship out, rather than fire a missile at it. Number one, you're going to fire a salvo of missiles. If you're trying to take a ship out, you're not going to fire one. There's actually mathematical formulas that says if I fire one missile, the odds of the ship stopping that missile, the odds of the ship being hit by that missile, or whatever. Let's say there's a 30% chance of hitting it. If I fire 2 missiles, it may go up to 65. So you calculate the number of missiles to give yourself like a 90% chance of hitting it. And any odds are more than one ship will hit it. More than one missile will hit it anyway. But what the Iranians do is much cheaper in that they fire a bunch of drones at your missile, at your ship, or whatever the target is. So let's say they fire 50 drones and 4 missiles. Okay, you got to make a decision because the drones are pretty nasty and they can cause some very, very serious damage also. So your option becomes, do I focus on the missiles, or are my radar overwhelmed? Can I take all of them out? The odds are this: you're going to get hit with something, and probably more than one of somethings. And if those somethings are an Onyx missile, you're likely to be sunk. And if there's more than one Onyx missile, you're almost sure to be sunk. You're done. So the U.S. is playing with fire in that now you're dealing with someone who has some capabilities, should they elect to use them, to significantly impact the attacking forces. And in fact, I would argue that there is even a possibility, I don't know how remote it is or not, but one I might argue in a war of attrition, a likelihood, but in a shorter war, a possibility that the U.S. is defeated. There's even possibilities that the U.S. is defeated fairly quickly. Now, I'm not saying I know that for sure, but you cannot rule that out as a possibility because of the offensive capabilities of Iran. Iran, and then what do you interpret as a defeat for the United States? You see, the United States is supposed to be the hegemon. It's supposed to be the world power. It's supposed to be a superpower, which means, and the U.S. has always argued that, we can dominate. We dominate. That doesn't mean that we just barely defeat you. That means we'll crush you, we'll destroy you, we'll wipe you out. There's nothing like us, right? Well, what happens if the U.S. comes in and they get punched in the nose on day one? They go in there and they got a ship or two or more that hit on the first one. What if it's more than one ship? What if they got several ships get hit on the first day and they lose a lot of people? What happens if the bases start getting hit by missiles and Iran has the capability to strike bases? So what happens if day one, the United States bases? Because, if I'm Iran, if you're Iran, what are you going to do? The United States has ports, and the United States has air bases in the region. The first thing you're going to do is blast the hell out of all those ports and air bases. You want to take the air bases out first because you said they're going to fly out of those air bases and attack me. I'm going to attack every one of those air bases. I'm going to damage those air bases. I'm going to make them inoperable so that they can't fly out of those air bases, right? So what happens if on the first day your air bases take a lot of strikes? What happens if on the first day you wake up and you're like, we're going to strike Iran? Trump goes on TV today. I ordered American troops to strike Iran. Our troops are the greatest that have ever been, the most powerful that ever lived. Our strike will be mighty, and Iran will surely perish. And the reports come in, we got a ship hit. We got 2 ships hit by missiles. And people are like, oh, what does that mean? Hit by missiles. Let us know. Is everybody okay? Well, that doesn't mean that anybody's okay. The ships have been blown to smithereens and sunk, all hands lost, but a few. What if one of them's a super carrier? Oh, carrier hit. Let's face it. Here's the thing about these ships. Let's not forget they have a powder hold. They have areas where their bombs and missiles and things are stored. What happens if one of these missiles hits that? Boom, puff of smoke. And now the Americans sitting here are like, I'm going to go strike that guy. And I strike the guy and he hits me, wham. And I hit the floor and I'm like, whoa, hey, why is everything purple? And why is everything move? My eyes swelled up. Now I struck him, but I wasn't prepared for him to strike back. So here's my point. The likelihood is if the U.S. attacks Israel, that there will be, this is my opinion, there will be significant loss of life, at which point Trump is toast. Number one. Number two, there will be significant pushback against Israel. There are a lot of people in America who will then look at this and say, our boys and girls are dying for Israel. And can you really argue that they're all that wrong, right? Our boys and girls are out here dying for Israel. This is bull crap. Why are our soldiers dying for Israel? Can you really argue that they're wrong? right? Can you say, no, 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 they're not dying for Israel. They're dying for, freedom. That's it. Good old freedom in the Gulf of, what? In the Persian Gulf, the Gulf of Oman, the Red Sea. They're dying for freedom over there at 8,000 miles from home. That's good old freedom. Freedom oil. When people know in America, now what Americans usually really don't, most of them don't know, is this whole grand chessboard stuff, that this is a way to, to attack China by thwarting one of the places that China gets oil, attack Russia by getting a hold in Russia's back door, except the enemy gets a vote. The enemy gets a vote, and you ain't getting that. What do you think? You're going to drop some bombs and then Iran's just going to call you up? Okay, we work for the United States now. Even though, sadly, a lot of people, lefties, all kinds of people, still are, what's the word I want to look, brainwashed about Venezuela because the United States captured President Maduro. Every time there's the New York Times runs an article. The New York Times literally runs articles, and they're like, yes, the CIA is in control of Venezuela now, and the Venezuelan government is doing everything we tell them to do night and day. They work for us. Dulce Rodriguez, she sold out. Everybody sold out. That's right already. We completely control Venezuela. And I'm like, well, that's not what I'm hearing on the ground. That's not what I'm seeing. And by the way, that was the New York Times article. It was literally written in Langley, Virginia, and emailed to the New York Times, and somebody stuck their name on it. The day I believe the New York Times, please shoot me now, in the words of Daffy Duck. Shoot me now. No, I don't believe the New York Times, and I don't think that the United States has captured the government of Venezuela at all. And time will tell. Some people will look up and maybe they'll say Garland was wrong. Maybe they'll say somebody else was right. Let me see. I'm looking. Dulce Rodriguez. I'm looking. I'm looking. I don't see Venezuela. I'm looking for something. So we will contend. I'm looking at Venezuela's news to see if there's anything of consequences. Okay, let's continue. So if the Trump regime, they kill me. Everybody always calls everybody else's regimes the Trump regime, because that's supposed to be a pejorative, a negative thing. If the Trump regime attacks Venezuela, my prediction is he will get his wish in a monkey's foot kind of way. You ever heard of the old tale, The Monkey's Foot? There was a short story called The Monkey's Foot. I forgot who wrote it, but in this story, somebody got a monkey's foot, and supposedly this monkey's foot would grant any wish you wanted, but in the most evil kind of way, right? And like this old man and woman say, we want, whatever, a million pounds, which was, back then, or 1,000 pounds, whatever, this was written back hundreds of years ago. And they get a knock on the door. And a guy comes up, he says, we've got terrible news. Your son worked at the old sawmill. And they're like, yes, well, he fell in the sawmill. He was sawed to pieces. And oh, by the way, the severance pay and the pay is exactly whatever it was. Like they want 100 pounds. It's 100 pounds. So they got 100 pounds, but their son had to die for it. So the bottom line is this monkey's foot was evil. It would grant anything you wanted, but in the most evil kind of way, the most horrible way, right? Okay, here's my point. Trump gets a monkey's foot regime change. And here's what I mean. He wants regime change. He's all for regime change. And if he goes for regime change in Iran, he'll get regime change, but it will be in Washington, D.C. It will be in Washington, D.C. He'll get his regime change. He's going to get it at home. Because what I think will happen is, I don't see how the U.S. Now, Iran's made it clear. If you attack us, it's all out war. There will be no striking Iran. If you attack us, it will be considered an act of war. We will be at war for the long term. We're immediately going to close the Straits of Hormuz, which, let's just say gas goes up 25%, right? 50%, whatever. Let's say, okay, so Americans are now paying $7-8 a gallon for gas. I think that's going to affect the markets. How do you think that's going to affect everybody's pockets? How do you think that's going to affect things in the grocery store? What do you think Americans are going to do? They go to the grocery store on Tuesday. Hey, wait, whoa, wait, whoa, what's the problem? My God, man. A head of lettuce is $7. Eggs are $12. You know, the grocery store are going to say, well, it all gets delivered by diesel fuel. And by the way, did we tell you that diesel fuel, the price of it doubled and or tripled because the Straits of Hormuz? Do you think that Americans are going to cheer? Yay, good work. Stand up there. We got to be there. We're with Israel. Americans will go apeshit if that happens. Americans will go bananas if that happens. They will go insane if that happens. And Trump can't recover from that. Oh, by the way, did I mention it is we're in the midterms are coming up. How do you think the Republicans' numbers are going to look? Mushroom cloud, brother. Mushroom cloud. So if Trump does that, and let me add this. His numbers will drop so precipitously, right? His numbers will drop so fast. Americans will be so furious. He will have a tenuous grip on the presidency, and I would suspect what you'll start to see is the mumbling. How do we get rid of him? Now, the same people that were like, we've got to go, way to go, Trumpy, Lindsey Graham. Yes, I'm with Trump. MAGA, make Iran great again. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Trump, yes. And Lindsey Graham, yeah, way to go. We're going to attack him. All right. We got Trump. We got your back, Trump. Let's go do this. What do you think is going to happen the next day? When his numbers, boom, and Americans are like outside screaming, Trump must go, Trump must go. What do you think Lindsey Graham's going to do? You think he's going to stand there with Trump and go down with him? Au contraire, mon frere. Lindsey Graham's going to go, yeah, I can't stand. Let me come over here. He'll be there marching with him. He'll have a sign. Lindsey Graham, Trump must go. Trump must go. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. So I'm just saying the odds are overwhelming that to me, the odds are just overwhelming that if the U.S. attacks Iran, there will be regime change, but it will be in Washington, D.C. Firstly, because we are on the verge of an economic meltdown anyway, because this is the nature of this system, what we have, this free market, the whole fraud of a free market. It is a manipulated casino system, and the casino is fixed. It is a gambling system, except the crap table is fixed on behalf of the rich. They've set up a fake. The stock market is a fake. It's a fraud. It's completely and totally rigged. And if Trump does that, even the rigging can't save it, number one. And number two, the people are going to feel pain immediately. See, one of the things that has happened when it comes to war is what they pulled off this game where they do the long forever wars, and because the inflation and various pains that you feel and the degradation of our infrastructure is so slow that people don't in their minds connect it to, hey, this is because of all of those wars. This is because of the war on terror. Oh, what if we did with that took that $2.5 trillion that we spent in Afghanistan and spent it here? No, because it's too slow. You don't feel it. You don't connect it. You just say things are going crappy, but you don't connect it as to why, right? But what happens if Trump says, I'm hitting Iran, boom, and within days, and all of a sudden, wham, and all of a sudden the Straits of Hormuz are closed. And it was predicted, and people are like, uh-oh, as was predicted, the Straits of Hormuz are now closed. And then markets go, ooh, your 401k goes, oh, and by the way, I think I'll go get gas. And holy crap, give me $20 worth. And they're like, yeah, but wouldn't you want to at least get a gallon? Well, oh my God. No, I'm saying, I ain't saying it's $20 a gallon, but it will be very, very expensive. And the people will ask the obvious question. What did we do that for again? We didn't need to attack Iran, but we attacked Iran. And here's my question, gang. How you get out of it? Just out of curiosity, how do you get out of that mess? How do you have attacked Iran? Iran's firing back. You're losing people. Oh, by the way, Iran has said it's going to be full war. What could that mean? Number one, surface-to-surface missiles against American and Israeli targets at a high rate, and you don't even and drones, and lots of them, and lots of pain, damage to American ships, sinking potentially of American ships, air bases, airfields, potentially planes being shot down. Now, let's add this. All throughout the Middle East, the U.S. has, the Israelis has allies. The U.S. calls them proxies because that sounds bad. They're not, nobody, we don't have proxies. We have allies. Damn allies. They kill me with that stuff. And China doesn't use the word allies. China only uses the word partners, right? So I think what you can then expect is the unexpected. If Iran is going all out to fight us, you would expect the unexpected. You want them to hit us. You would expect them to hit us in ways that we hadn't calculated. Let me give you an example. There's a lot of Shia Muslims throughout Africa, and the U.S. has a bunch of bases in Africa. And I suspect that a whole lot of Muslims in Africa are like, we want them sons of bitches out of here. And if you were Iran, why wouldn't you arm some of them? In fact, if you were China and Russia, why wouldn't you maybe slip a few arms, some missiles, maybe perhaps some mortars into the area of some of the people in Africa? Wouldn't you do that? So, hey, you know what? The basin, whatever the hell, I don't know, Nairobi, who knows, whatever, Ghana, and all of a sudden some doggone what do you call it? Mortars, small caliber missiles, rockets, things like that come flying in. And now you got to defend there too. What are you going to do? Hey, we need some air defenses in Ghana. We ain't got any. Why? Well, most of them were blown up in Ukraine, but notwithstanding that most of them were blown up in Ukraine, we're using them all in the Middle East now. In fact, one of the things that China recently did, apparently, is China took like a bunch of pictures of U.S. air bases, and let me see if I can find it. And they put them out open source, and just to kind of show. Let me see if I can find it. China. They did that. Let me see. I'll try satellite pictures. Apparently, they released some satellite pictures of U.S. air bases in the Middle East. I don't see that anywhere. And I think that was just kind of to let people know that I can't find it. Sorry about that. All right, I'm not going to go on it. I'm not going to keep looking. But the bottom line is what China did was they took pictures of U.S. air bases in the Middle East, and they showed this is where air defense systems, planes, etc. Right? So they took very, very detailed pictures and they released them out in the public. In other words, showing, hey, if we release them in the public, you're best assured that Iran has everything for targeting. So this air base you're looking at, yeah, Iran has all the targeting information for it. So my point being, I'm sure that China and Russia are providing the ISR for China, right? Intelligence, what is it? Intelligence, what is ISR? Somebody tell me. Intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, ISR, right? Both China and Russia have extensive satellite arrays, tremendous amount of technology. So I will guarantee you that China and Russia are providing significant ISR to the Iranians, which means a couple of things. It means if American planes take off, it means if American missiles are fired, whatever is fired towards Tehran, that Tehran will immediately know what's coming because they'll be advised by the Chinese and the Russians or whoever, however that's set up, whoever has the best or the most or whatever, however they've worked it out. And they'll be able to immediately respond. And let's not forget that during the June attack on Iran, there was an internal attack that was able to use drones and other things to take out some of Iran's air defense system, which then kind of paralyzed Iran's air defense. They took down the rest of their stuff so it wouldn't be vulnerable for maybe 10 to 12 hours. And then once they got everything straight, they took some hits and then they started, responding offensively, and they were able to, launch devastating attacks and very, very successful attacks on Israel. So Israel had a significant jump on Iran last time. Don't you think this time to attack them with no 10 or 12-hour period prior? They're just waiting. They're ready. As they said, they're locked and loaded. They say they don't want a war, but they'll fight one. Now, my suspicion is, let me say this. My suspicion is, if I had to bet, I would say, I don't think the US does. It's possible, but I don't think they do. But I'm saying that rationally, and the neocons and the people running the system are not rational because they're so desperate, especially since this is an attack on China, an attempt to choke China's, ability to get oil off. So that could be viewed as a war against China. But the problem is, it would be Trump would sacrifice. It would be a sacrificing of Trump. If this happens, Trump is gone. He's finished. The other thing is, the U.S.'s people are already so sick and tired of war. It would make people more anti-war. So I don't know. It's possible. My guess is it doesn't happen, but it's just a guess, nothing more. I'm just saying that if it does happen, Trump's finished. There's no way he survives this if it happens, because he's going to fight somebody who can punch back and potentially win. And if it goes over a couple weeks, the U.S. and Israel, well, first of all, even then, I say a couple of weeks, the U.S. and Israel will be out of anti-aircraft missiles. But what did Iran learn? Iran learned, and they said this. They said, oh, we fired 2,000 missiles in 12 days, and they ran out of anti-aircraft missiles. They said, but we fight them again, we'll fire 2,000 in the first 2 days, and they'll run out of anti-aircraft missiles in 2 days, and then we'll finish them. So what happens if they say, okay, we've got the numbers, the drones ready, everything, and how soon before the U.S. and its allies, its proxies, whatever you want to call them, run out of anti-aircraft missiles? And what do we keep doing? Fighting with no air cover whatsoever? So I just see the likelihood is a regime change in Washington, D.C. That's what Trump would do. If he does this, it's regime change in Washington, D.C. I see no other way around it. Of course, here's the other part that you have to take into account. Speculation, of course. So I always like to label speculation. And that is that this whole Epstein thing came out, right? And there's some things that don't look good for Trump. Now, I mean, you look at it and nothing there shocks me. There is nothing. I'm not looking at anything in the Epstein files going, oh my God, I didn't believe that. I think we knew who these people were. Let's not be shocked that these pedophiles, these fiends, monsters, murderers, torturers, let's not become shocked that a person who committed genocide, that a person who go around the world rampaging, murdering, slaughtering, lying to the American people, and we're shocked that they're involved in this. I don't know about you. I ain't shocked. Okay. I'm not even surprised. I'm not even raising an eyebrow. Oh my God, did you read the Epstein files? I didn't need to. I pretty much knew what was in them. But let us continue. Isn't it possible? Because I looked at it and I'm like, yeah, there's some things in there that make the old Trumpy look pretty bad, right? But what if that was intentional? What if there was, look, we're going to release some stuff, Trump, and it ain't going to be pretty. That's just a taste of it. So you got that armada off the coast of Iran. If I was you, I wouldn't hesitate to use it because, I mean, there's more Epstein files, and the minor stuff that we drop makes you look bad. Next comes the videos. You don't want the videos to come out, do you? You're finished. Your regime changed. So go ahead, do what you're told to do. You're already owned lock, stock, and barrel. You're fully compromised. You do what you want to do, and then the next set doesn't come out, right? It wouldn't surprise me, number one, if that was the case. Equally, it wouldn't surprise me, and I've often said this too. Let me give you another angle. The other angle is, I'll put it to you like this. I don't know, when Tom Brady was the quarterback for the um New England Patriots, did they have to coax him? Did they have to lie to him? Did they have to threaten him to get him to throw a touchdown? No. Why did Tom Brady throw a touchdown for the New England Patriots? Because he was on their team. He was already on their team. He had been paid for years to be on their team. They didn't have to coax him. They didn't have to threaten him. They didn't have to do anything to get him to throw a touchdown. He was on their team. He wore the accoutrements of the New England Patriots. So the other side is, maybe they don't have to threaten Trump. Maybe the fact is Trump is on their team. He's already been well paid and well compensated for being on their team, and he's going to do what somebody on their team would do. So from that perspective, maybe we're giving Donald Trump too much credit when we say, well, we think they're bribing him. Maybe we're giving him too much credit when we say, well, I think they're compromising him. What if he's just on their team and they don't have to compromise him and they don't have to bribe him, that they're all sitting around in their evil little circles plotting together? Maybe if you say he's compromised, maybe if you say he's being bribed, maybe you're letting him off the hook. Doesn't that kind of imply that he wants to do something different? Well, I don't really want to start this war. I really don't want to do everything that I'm told by Netanyahu. I really don't want to do all of these evil things, but they're twisting my arm. You're letting him off the hook. What if Trump is like, hey guys, let's come together. What are we doing? Evil things. All right, I'm in. How about you? Evil. Right, everybody, this is the evil things doing team. Yeah, we're doing evil things. We got a list of evil things to do. Let's do them. Evil thing 1, attack Iran. Evil thing 2, grab some American protesters, violate their Second Amendment rights, their First Amendment rights, their Fourth, every amendment right, you violate them all, then we'll shoot them stinking dead right between them running lights. Put 3 or 4 in the back of their head. That'll kill them. What if Donald Trump does not need to be coaxed or bribed or otherwise convinced to do something? Maybe he's part of the team and he's just as happy to do things that his team does as the rest of them are. Let's not let him off the hook. Is it possible that he's compromised and bribed? Sure. I would argue it's more likely that he's just part of the team and he knows his game. He knows his position. I'm the quarterback, I throw the football. That guy's the running back. He catches the ball and runs with the football. Well, that guy's the defensive player. He comes up and tackles people when they catch the ball. Everybody knows what their job is. That's why they call it a team. And maybe Trump's team is to get elected. Hey, everybody, make America great again. I'm the peace president. I'm standing up. I'm going to lower inflation. I'm going to do all these good things for America until I get elected. And then I do not. So his job is to bamboozle you. He's a PR guy. He's an actor. So maybe perhaps his job is to bamboozle you. And maybe evidence that you're bamboozled is that you think he has to be somehow coaxed into doing what everybody else on his team is doing. Look around him. He just brought in this new guy, Marsh, whatever that bastard's name is. Who is the son of like the people that own Estee Lauder. The guy was like was the chairman of the World Jewish Congress. That was the father of this guy, Marsh or whatever the hell is he brought in. Come on. The idea that Trump is bringing in around him, he just sent Kushner, Witkoff, and Greenbaum, all Jewish Zionists. I got nothing against Jewish people. I got something against Zionists. But how in the hell in America, I mean, would I expect that they're like, hey, we got to send somebody to work for the, to go talk with the Russians? Well, I'm going to send Tyrone Green, Leroy Jefferson, and Garland Nixon. I'm going to send 3 black guys. I mean, sure, if he does, that's fine. But that ain't happening, is it? Not going to happen. He ain't going to send 3 black guys. He's not going to send 3 Latino guys. He's not going to send 3 Armenians. I don't know what the hell. But he's certainly going to send 3 Jewish Zionists, who, by the way, are not going to get a deal because that ain't their job. And Trump ain't sending them to get a deal because there ain't no deal to be had. So you think this guy, oh, by the way, as I said, Witkoff, Kushner, Greenbaum, they're over there talking to Putin's people or whatever the hell. Hey, we got a new guy that we want to put in charge of the Fed. Great. What you tell me a little bit about him? Well, his dad was the head of the World Jewish Congress. See what I'm saying? Trump, this is a Zionist regime. An extra Zionist regime. That's all it is. a super duper over the top Zionist regime, and Donald Trump is the king Zionist. That's why I'm saying it's not about Zionism is not about Judaism, because Trump ain't a Jew. Pompeo ain't a Jew. I could go on and on. They're not Jewish people, but they are Zionists. So that's the bottom line. The United States is a Zionist empire. It's run by Zionists, it's controlled by Zionists and for Zionists, by, of, and for the people, the Zionist people, that is. And it doesn't matter if they're Jewish, it doesn't matter if they're whatever the hell they are, Indian, I don't care what it is, Cash Patel, last time I checked, he wasn't a Jew. He's going to meet you in Valhalla. But my point being is, but what is he? He's a Zionist. Hey, how about Tulsi Gabbard? Is she Jewish? I don't think she is, but she's a Zionist. So Trump's a Zionist. Patel's. Oh boy, look at this! It's like Hollywood. It's like Hollywood. The diversity, right? It's like you watch a Hollywood movie, and every stinking movie you watch, every advertisement you watch from Hollywood is the same thing. Hey, let's take a look at what do we got? What do we got there? Well, let's see. We've got one black person, one white person. We've got one Spanish person, one Native American person. We've got one gay person, and we've got one this, one that, everything. Every single thing in Hollywood is got. We've got one skinny person, one fat person, one tall person, one short person, one brown person, one yellow person, one red. That's it in Hollywood. None of them can act. None of them can act. And then they bring in, sir, we have a black female who's the writer, and a person with one leg who's deaf, and they're the director. None of them can write or direct. And you have a horrific movie, but they got lots of diversity in the movie. That's what Donald Trump's administration looks like. What do you have? Well, we've got a Jewish Zionist. Yeah, we've got a Hindu Zionist. Okay. We've got a regular old white guy. He's a Zionist. What about the black guy? Zionist. There you go. It's like Hollywood, a diverse group of Zionists dragging this country straight to hell, and they don't care because you ain't part of the mix. They're not. You are a liability, or you are an expendable asset. Those are the two things that you are. You're either an expendable asset, or you're a liability, or some combination of that. That's it. You are in. This is not a republic. This is not a democracy. This is not any of that. It is a Zionist empire, as simple as that. And now it's time to pay the piper. We got to attack Iran. And look, do you hear these people that are running around, attack Iran? We must attack Iran. Do you hear them saying, but what about the American people? Why, if gas goes through the roof, they'll all suffer. No. F the American people. That's their position. Who cares? If you were to say, hey, Pompeo, Jack Keane, Trump, Kushner, hey, you guys, let's all sit down together. I got a question for you people. Sure, go ahead, Garland. Well, if you attack Iran, gas price is going to go through the roof. Inflation will go up. The American people are struggling now. They'll be suffering. They'll look at me and they'll say, hold on a minute. We've got to have a little meeting, and they all huddle together. Yeah, inflation. Okay, the Federal Reserve. Okay. Do you want to tell them? Yeah. Okay, yeah. They'll go. Oh, that's a good one, Garland. The American people are going to suffer. Take a look in my eyes, brother. Take a look in my eyes. You see somebody who gives a shit about the American people? No, you don't. The American people are going to suffer. Well, look, that's a bonus. That makes me feel better. You said that like it's a bad thing. We want them to suffer. We want them to struggle. Hooray. Who cares? We don't like them. We have nothing but contempt towards those bastards. They don't know their place. How dare they tell us that we shouldn't be a Zionist empire? Screw them. How dare they should ask for some of the money that we're trying to give to Israel to buy more weapons? Damn these American people. They make me sick. I can't stand them. That's what they would tell you if they were honest, which they ain't. So that's my point. So the direction we're going in now is a direction straight to economic hell. And I think that knowing that the American, think about this. I know those of you who still trust the government, you really think they're sending ICE in the street. Why? Because they want to get rid of those illegal immigrants, and they want to make my life better, and they want the economy to be stronger so they can get these illegal. Best of luck if you believe that. Look, if they do this, didn't I just say the economy goes to hell? The country's going to probably go in an uproar with people going through the streets and screaming and yelling. And they will need somebody in the streets to tap down that dissent, won't they? When Americans go, I'm unhappy. Oh, you are you? Remember this Renee Good and whatever, the Alex Preddy? Yeah, well, you better get the hell off the street and you're going to get the same. Oh, yes. And by the way, everything has gone to hell. So we're going to give you some digital currency because you can't afford anything. And by the way, it's going to go on an app, unless, of course, you protest. If you protest, you don't get your digital currency. And of course, we'll shut down your app and your phone, and you won't get anything if you do not comply. You must comply. And by the way, you must comply. And you got to wear one of these. Whatever you do, comply and wear one of these. You're screwed. Anyway, look at it. You must comply. So that's what's happening. That's the direction we're going. The direction we're going is, if they attack it, Americans are going to go ape shit. If they attack Iran, I think Americans are going to lose some of their sons and daughters. They're going to get hit hard. And I think that people will take to the street thinking that they have a right to go to the streets and exercise their right to protest. We want fairness and things like that. Of course, in the Zionist empire, they'll treat you in the same way. Look, these guys are practicing. Have you seen what the IDF does to the Palestinians when they come to the street? They go to a crossing. I guess there'll be checkpoints all over the place. Hey, I'm trying to go out here to the corner and get myself a pack of smokes. You got to go through this checkpoint. Okay, my name's Garland. I'm an American citizen. Show me your papers, swine. Papers? I don't have papers. Here's my license. Shut up. They'll snatch your license out, grab you around the collar. Grab you around the collar. They will beat you mercilessly just for fun. You will be treated in the same way. You see how the Palestinians are treated? The same way. Checkpoints coming. If you'll go to Checkpoint Charlie. If you think that you have a right to protest, and when they crash this damn economy and screw everything up, that they're going to let you go to the street, those who are cheering, yay, way to go, ICE, beat those darn protesters. You'll wake up one day and, I remember this idiot, this lunatic, a madman, dare I say, named Garland Nixon, who were saying, they're coming for you next. Perhaps in hindsight, he had something there. There you go. So at any rate, thank you very much. Let's see. Do we have any super chats? We got any super chats? I don't see any super chats, because if we had any super chats, I would answer them. I don't see any. I don't see no super chats. That's how many I see. At any rate, I think that's it. I think that over the course of this weekend, we'll see. I don't think, from a rational perspective, I don't think that they attack Iran because of all the things that I've said. I think they may have figured out, Trump at least, that if he attacks, that it's regime change in DC. So I don't know. I also think that Trump knows that they're taking a loss in Ukraine, and they may very well want to try to get a win somewhere, but there ain't no win to be had in Iran. Iranian people are ready to fight. I got to add this. Let's finish up with this. What we have here is something that's philosophically significant from the perspective of world power conflict. Here's what I mean. The U.S. is saying we are in charge of the Middle East, of everywhere. We're the bosses. And Iran's saying, and so you have to do what we're saying. And Iran's saying, no, you aren't. No, we don't. And they're saying, okay, you will do what we said. Now, what is Iran saying? Iran is saying, we're willing to have dialogue with you on an equal basis. Well, that doesn't work, because if the U.S. talks to them on an equal basis, doesn't that mean that that the United States is not in charge? If we talk to anyone on an equal basis, that is, on its face, an admission that we're not in charge, that we have to talk to them. We're like, we're threatening you. And Iran says, well, if you do, I'm gonna kick your ass. But here's my point. I'm willing to talk to you. What America has to say, in order to be the hegemon, in order to be in charge, the United States has to say, no, we don't have to talk to you on an equal basis, number one. And number two, you will do what you are told. Shut up. And then here's the way power truly works, particularly from the perspective of these knuckle dragging apes in the Trump administration. And I've come from law enforcement, so I understand this dynamic. Ultimately, power comes down to force, right? Power is only power until you use it, but power comes down to force. It comes down to who has the monopoly on violence, right? What do you know? You live in the United States. The government can say, do this, you can say no. But then ultimately the cops or whoever can come and grab you and take you away. They have a monopoly. Ultimately, the government has a monopoly on violence and force. They can tell you to do something, you can say no, but they have the force, the physical force to force you to do it, right? So the US says, we're in charge of the Middle East and you ain't, we're the boss, and we're going to tell you what to do. And if Iran says no, then the US's only option, well, you better do it. And if Iran says, who's going to make me? Isn't that what they're saying? When my daughter was little, I remember having a talk with her at some point, and I said, I let her know. I said, look, it's a power dynamic. You have to understand as a child. I want you to understand this dynamic. If I were to say to you, you have to go clean your room, you could say no, and there's nothing I could do to make you clean your room. Nothing I could do to make you clean your room. Right? I could threaten you with all kinds of things. If you don't, you can't have ice cream. Okay, I need an ice cream then. If you can't, I'll hit you over the head with this baseball bat. You can hit me over the head with the baseball bat. Somebody could threaten you. Garland, you need better do this. Nope, not going to do it. I'm going to kick you and punch you. You can kick me and punch me. I'm going to kill you. You can kill me. I'm willing to die, but I ain't going to do it. I'm going to threaten you with all kinds of the most terrible things you could ever imagine. And I could say, and you can do all of them. I can't stop you from doing all of that one, but I ain't going to do it. You can't force me to do something. You can threaten me, and I can say I'm willing to accept whatever you're going to threaten me with and whatever you're able to do. At that point, you have no power over me. Your only power over me is if I comply. Garland, you better do what I'm telling you. Okay, no problem. Garland, you better do what I'm telling you. No, I will not comply. How easy was that? I will deal with the outcomes, but I ain't going to do it, right? So ultimately, we have the authority to say no. The question is, can someone use force? Now, what Iran is saying is this. US says, you're going to do what we tell you. And Iran says, no, we ain't. US says, well, then we'll attack you. And Iran says, you can attack me if you want to, but you can't make me do what you want me to do. Think about that. That's all it is. You can attack me, but there's going to be a price to pay. So the question is, are you willing to pay the price? Because what Iran, in developing their technological military capabilities, and with a little help from their friends, the Russian and Chinese, they've gotten to a point where, in my opinion, the price is just too high. Can the United States win a war against Iran? I don't even really know. Possibly, I don't know, because we struggle with the Houthis. I'm just saying, even if we can, whatever you would mean when you use the word win, the damn price is now too high. And that's what Iran is saying. Well, I'll force you to do this. Maybe you can. But if you do, I'll make the price so high that it wasn't worth it. As they say, the squeeze ain't worth the juice. And that's what Iran's saying. They're saying, you can attack us, but man, the price is going to be astronomical. The price is going to be high in lives of Americans. The price is going to be high in equipment blown up, and the price is going to be politically high because the people at home are going to be enraged. Oh, and did I mention economically it's going to be real high because we can really hurt you there. So your decision. So now the decision for the people here in the United States that are making that decision is, are they willing to pay the price? They may think they're willing to pay the price, but I don't think they really are. Thank you very much. All right, everybody, here's where we go. I want to thank all my Patreon people and everybody who's, helping the channel. Please, whether it's Patreon, buy me a coffee or whatever, it's highly appreciated. Don't forget, on buying me a coffee, you could do just like Patreon. If you're like, oh, buy Garland a coffee, how many? 3, 5, 10, a million, whatever the hell. And do you want to do it one time or do you want to make it monthly? So you can do the Patreon thing through Buy Me a Coffee if you want. Of course, there's good old Cash App. And of course, snail mailers are still around. P.O. Box 32, Glen Burnie, Maryland. You see that going there. So feel free to snail mail me and as again, people send me letters. People send me all kinds of interesting gifts, cups and things like that. I got a peace cup that somebody sent me that has my name on it. That's great. And of course, people also send me donations, but you name it. So thanks for everybody. Snail mailers. Don't forget, there's a very important thing that you can do as a member of the chat, as a member of the channel. You can become a member of the channel if you want, but as a subscriber, and that is to share this on all your social media platforms. I'm out.